On the broadcast now is Arjun Sharma. He is the chairman of the Select City Walk Mall here in New Delhi. Appreciate you, Mr. Sharma, for being with us. Malls allowed to open from June the 8th. We had a restaurateur with us on the broadcast just a few minutes ago who said that it's fraught with challenges and viability at this moment is going to be a big question. So you're already reeling under losses over the last 2 months of the lockdown. And now with the new guidelines that are in place, physical distancing, social distancing, masks, high level of sanitization, limited number of people, you have your task cut out for you.
Yes, Rashika, it's not easy, but I think it was long overdue. If you realize the center and various states had opened the high streets a couple of weeks ago, let us not forget that approximately 11% of manufacturing India sells through organized retail and shopping centers. Now, there are about 1,650 shopping centers. And over the last couple of months, we've all been working very hard to look at the SOPs of various countries where shopping centers have already opened, like in Dubai, in China, in Australia, they never shut. So we've honed in a lot of processes. And the Shopping Center Association of India has created a 48-page SOP, which it submitted to the MHA. And it submitted it to various state governments. And I think once that is in place, and I think they've actually done a good thing that they've announced today and given us about 8 or 9 days to make sure that we put our processes into place. Yes. So I think that is a very good thing. That I think I really welcome that step. Now it's a matter of the state governments notifying the rules. Yes, I realize that some parts of our industry, especially the restaurants, will have more challenges. But I think we are very comfortable to work with some of our partners, especially the restaurant owners, to make sure that we give the best possible impact to our customers and to them as well.
Right. I have to ask you though, Mr. Sharma, many believe that some of the bigger brands will survive. Now, if we look at the Select City Walk Mall, it's one of the most popular malls, in New Delhi. What about some of the smaller, newer brands? Do you fathom it's going to be a challenge to keep up with mall rents? What's the kind of conversation around that?
Well, it's a challenging time for everybody and every industry. And I think there will be some fallout. I hope there is none. I know for sure that we are working with all our small and large formats to see how best we can soften the impact. Now, she must remember that we have ourselves got nothing except a bit of a waiver of our interest loans of the Reserve Bank of India. So I think the best possible and the most reasonable solution is to find a way that during this lockdown period and maybe for a certain period after that, we can defer some of the rents for some of these people. And I think by far and large, a lot of conversations have happened.
Over the last 2 months? Has that already happened? What about there are hundreds of stores in your mall. What's been the kind of rent agreement over the course of the last 2 months?
I think we have had lots and lots of very mature conversations with our retailers. I think what we were all waiting for is the final green signal to open. Now, what's really happened is if you look at the last maybe 2 to 3 weeks when the high streets opened, we are actually very, very buoyed by the fact that the sales have been between, I would say, 35 to 70% for brands.
Right.
Now, that is giving us a lot of hope that there will be a certain buoyancy of retail. Now, I think based on that, there are different categories. So you can't really have one agreement that fits all. As you realize that we have over 200 brands in our shopping center at Select City Walk. So we are working in a calibrated approach.
There's an insecurity, Mr. Sharma, and because we had a restaurateur with us on the broadcast just a short while ago, Zorawar Kalra actually raised one of those questions. That, many restaurants, for instance, are going to think about viability for the simple reason that the moment they open their restaurant, they're going to have to pay rents again. And as we know, rents are high in premium malls like yours. So do you fathom that to be a challenge? Do you feel that might actually deter people because you're uncertain of the footfall? Physical distancing is going to be the new norm. It's uncertain whether people, will have the faith or the courage to go back into public spaces, even as cases continue to rise. It's not like the pandemic is over. So, do you fathom that this is a decision that's still, welcome but fraught with its share of challenges?
Yes, indeed, lots of challenges, and I think especially for the restaurant industry, I fully sympathize with them because they have, already got heavy rents. They have to keep social distancing. Like I said, we will work out formulas that works like a win-win for them as well as for us. We don't expect them to kind of bear the entire burden. I think we are very responsible in that way. Lots of these partnerships are over a decade old. So we will work with them. And I think we will realize that, at the end of the day, we all need each other. They need the shopping malls. The shopping malls need them. So I think, between a lot of us, there'll be very mature discussions, and I think we'll conclude it in the best possible manner.
Another question that comes to mind at the moment is e-commerce has really picked up. I mean, many people would prefer, to order online, anything that you can get in a mall. Most of these stores deliver. Timelines, of course, vary depending on where you are. Do you think that's something that the mall culture is going to now be threatened by very really?
Well, Ashika, the thing is that malls are not just a place for shopping. They're also a great place for socializing. Of course, at this point of time, that's not the focus for all our malls. At this point of time, the reality for us is to just open the stores. The impact of e-commerce is greatly felt more in commoditized products. But if you want to go and buy a shirt, which is say 5,000 rupees, or a shoe, which is 3,000 rupees, you typically want to try it, you want to test it, you want to be able to look at it, touch and feel. I think that is not going away for a long time. Will both the channels work? I think the omni-channel approach is probably the best approach. I think they will work together.
Right.
I don't see e-commerce being a big threat. I see it as being complementary. In fact, as shopping centers, we've also developed a lot of SOPs of delivering. In fact, lots of our stores have actually been as storehouses to deliver from, because some brands have no other location to deliver. So I think we'll have to work together with all our delivery partners, our e-commerce partners, and I think this is not the time of us against anybody. We all must work in one ecosystem. At the end of the day, the customer must get the best possible option.
Talking of customers, Mr. Sharma, I have to ask you, and I've asked this question to every guest representing the different industries who we've had on the broadcast over the course of the last 1 hour. What about the confidence of people to be able to step back into a mall or to set foot in a restaurant? The insecurity surrounding the coronavirus, there's very little that's known of it. The high transmission rate that's being seen in India. We have 8,000 new cases of the coronavirus in India today. There have, of course, been recoveries, but there is a very real insecurity. How are you going to address that? How are you going to inspire confidence among your customers that it is safe indeed to set foot in a mall again?
Well, Ashika, to first of all tell you, our mall has not been shut ever since the lockdown happened. We've still been open for the essential goods like the groceries and the pharmacy. So we already had a high footfall coming into the mall. A lot of people have seen that shopping centers have created a lot of SOPs. As I said, we fortunately have had the advantage of seeing how China, Dubai, Australia, America have opened. So I think shopping centers, in fact, would give me more confidence of going into, rather than going into the high street where there is no control. The high streets are a free-for-all area. Yes, I know the retailers are doing a good job, but here we have, for example, as I said, the Shopping Center Association of India has created a 48-page document which goes from, for example, let's say, on a typical weekday, pre-COVID, we would get between 30 to 40,000 footfalls a day. We are very confident that we're going to cap it at between 10 to 12,000 in the first couple of weeks going forward to learn. So we will be doing a lot of social distancing ourselves. We want to make sure that carrying capacity of the mall, of our shops, is adhered to. There will be a whole SOP around air conditioning. Now, the CPWG, which is the government body, has come out with a detailed SOP on air conditioning, how to make air conditioning safe in shopping centers. So a lot of stuff has gone into it. And of course, we're going to insist that people wear masks. And people wear, if you're above a 65 or below 10, obviously the risks are higher. But if you wear a mask and you've gone through a sanitization tunnel, I think you've more or less dealt with 99.9% of those risks. There's no guarantee, there's no foolproof.
Okay, so sanitizing tunnels, hand sanitizers, physical distancing, that's going to be the new normal everywhere. But malls, among restaurants, places of worship, hotels, etc., all allowed to open from the 8th of June. It's of course going to depend on which state you are, what the situation in your city or district is, and basis that the permissions will be given. But appreciate you, Mr. Arjun Sharma, for joining us. He is from the Select City World Mall, and he says that they have taken all precautions. They will pull out the stops to ensure that you can set foot into a mall and feel safe while you do that. Our continuous coverage of Unlock 1.0 continues on the other side of a very short break with my colleague Sarah Jacobs. Stay tuned.